Hello and welcome to the stream. Uh, just before we get going, just so everyone knows, I have not yet read through this one, so I have no idea what decisions lead to what outcomes, but we'll find out together. Hope you're all ready and have had a good day. All right, well, let's get this one going. Do let me know if the volume's okay. Mm. The tip of the sword was like a flash of lightning, a spearhead thrust to skewer the heart. Even attempting to evade was pointless. It was but a flash too swift for the human eye to follow. And yet, moonlight swept in to save me from the strike that threatened to end me. The sound was beautiful, like the tolling of a bell. No, truth be told, the sound hung over me, heavier than an iron weight. This beauty had little to do with aesthetics. The stark armor wrapped about her was like the frozen night itself. The ringing was not in itself pleasant. It was the sound of steel. But the night herself was beautiful enough to make it into the chiming of a bell.
とう、あなたが私のマスターか。
Her voice resonated in the darkness.
召喚に従い参上した。これより我が剣はあなたと共にあり、あなたの運命は私と共にある。ここに契約は完了した。
Indeed, the pact was sealed. Just as she chose to serve me, I'm sure in that moment that I swore to serve her. The moonlight cut through the darkness, as if in imitation of the night, the storehouse regained its former calm. Time had stopped. The vision before me had lasted less than a second. But that, as it may, I will always remember the sight of her as clearly as if it were happening now, even if I fall into the depths of hell. The faint slant of her profile, her serene, divinely green eyes. For a moment, time stopped. And her silhouette draped in blue swayed in the wind. I was struck by the pale blue glow. Her hair was fine as golden thread, was bathed in moonlight. This happened 10 years ago. I see someone who takes me back. He's tall, with chiseled features. I've never known him to crack a joke. He ruffles my hair affectionately. No, that's not what this is. It's more like he's grasping my head and working it like a stubborn jar lid. Maybe he doesn't know how to control his strength. That's only to be expected. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. It's time for me to leave. You know what to do next. I answered yes in a somber voice. He nodded once, withdrew his hand, and stood up. That's all. Had I known this would be the last time we would ever see each other, I would have done my best to make him laugh with the perfect joke. I'd been practicing punchlines in private in the hopes of finally seeing a smile crack his stony face. If I have one regret, it's that I never got to tell him any of my jokes. Aw, poor little young Rin. Get the association in your debt before you become an adult. Any decisions after that, I leave up to you. I'm sure you'll manage on your own. So he said, but I bet he was worried about me. He told me about my family's heirloom jewels, the gems passed down to us from our Grand Master, and how to manage the underground workshop. It was a rapid-fire course of subjects he'd never taught me before. Even as a child, I realized that he would probably never come home again. There was a war. Not a war between countries, but between people. But in this war, there were only 7 combatants. It might not have seemed fitting to call it a war, but having mages involved changes things. 7 mages from different factions competed, but I wasn't sure why. They killed each other using methods I didn't really understand. One of them was the man in front of me. It meant that he would kill, and eventually be killed. I'm sure he felt the ticking of his life's clock even more keenly than I did. Rin, before long the Holy Grail will appear. It is the duty of the Tosakas to obtain it, but above all, it is the path we are destined to walk as mages. And with that, he ruffled my hair one last time and left. I never saw him again. My father/teacher was one of the masters who participated in the Holy Grail War. He never came home.
いってらっしゃいませ、お父様。
I bid him farewell, as a well-behaved daughter should. I knew I was on the verge of tears, but I didn't let them show. I loved him. He was a great father and an even greater mage. Magus are stubborn people. As far as I knew, there wasn't a more upstanding man in the whole world. As my instructor, he trained me. As my father, he loved me. So I decided I'd accept the things he'd left for me and chose my own path. Rin, before long, the Holy Grail will appear. It is the duty of the Tosakas to obtain it, but above all, it is the path we are destined to walk as mages. In the end, his final words for me were given as a mage, not as a father. That's the moment I made up my mind.
よし、それじゃあ一つ気合い入れて一人前になりますか。
It's only natural for an apprentice to live up to her master's hopes. That's how I, Rin Tosaka, grew up after experiencing life's twists and turns. It's been 10 years since my father went off to war. I wouldn't say that I've been looking forward to this day, but I am a bit on edge. That goes without saying, after all. That moment, which was burned into my memory 10 years ago, will soon be upon me again. I hear something.
うるさい。止まれ。
The noise doesn't stop. It's such an insufferable racket, it's almost as if it's here to avenge my father.
はいよ、もう。昨日は遅くまでやってたんだから。
Well, they really outdid themselves on the updated remastered graphics. I am duly impressed. I wish it had let me sleep a bit more. In fact, it should. I stayed up into the early hours deciphering my father's will, and I used a hell of a lot of magic energy to do it. I'm totally exhausted, body and mind.
もう、融通の利かないやつ。
The alarm clock is deaf to my complaints. What kind of machine makes a noise that seems like its sole purpose is to remind you that you are late?
遅刻はまずい。
True, but there's a time and place for everything. No matter how much of an overachiever I am, I should try to make it to school on time, at least for today, if only slightly.
そうそう。あらかじめ30分ずらして目覚ましをセットしたんだから、あと30分は眠れるはず。
Doesn't that sound of...
30分ずらして？
I peer at the alarm clock through heavy eyelids. Blah. The hands point 7 o'clock on the dot. Usually I get up at 6:30, which means I've completely used up my safety margin. Speaking of which, why is my brain so slow this morning? I glare at the alarm clock for several seconds. I shut the alarm off and climb sluggishly out of bed. The morning chill bites me as I cross the hallway and enter the parlor. This is the final 7 a.m. in January. Winters in Fuyuki are relatively warm, but the mornings are cold as anywhere. Even at home, my breath is white. It's that much cooler without anyone else living here.
暖房。
I turn on the heater and go to wash up. Why wasn't the heater on previously then? Silly Rin. Single living is so inconvenient at times like these. If there was someone else here to wake up before me, then the parlor would already be heated. Oh, that's your problem. Gotcha. I wash my face in the sink. I run a brush through my long hair and get dressed. A chilly morning in a frigid bathroom. Oh, that doesn't sound pleasant at all. The only thing to be said for it is the cold water mercilessly beats the sleeplessness out of me. With a final tug on the ribbon at my collar, I finish getting dressed. All that's left is to have breakfast and go to school. The clock reads just past 7, so my morning rush feels a bit anticlimactic.
なんだ、これなら走っていく必要もないか。
Of course, I'd never do anything so uncouth as sprinting to school. The Tosaka family motto dictates that we conduct ourselves with confidence and elegance at all times. My ancestors must have been some high and mighty aristocrats if that's what we've taught through the generations. The anachronistic mansion I live in is proof enough of that. Plus, the Tosakas are a line of spellweavers who practice what is known as magecraft. We're not just an old family, we have an admirable storied history.
まあ自慢できることでもないんだけど。
In fact, I literally can't talk about it. The truth is, I'm a mage. Who could I even brag about that to? As the name suggests, magecraft is what most normal people would see as magic. It sounds like some supernatural woo-woo, and if you'd like to think of it just as wiggling your fingers and saying abracadabra, that's fine too. Hi, Drakengard. How are you today? Just think of us as people who chant weird words and make equally weird stuff happen. That said, we don't fly around on broomsticks, we don't shoot stars out of wands either. We can do things kind of like that, but there's no point, so we don't. We're pretty much heretics who lurk in the shadows of society. We're not allowed to draw attention to ourselves, and anyone who has time for that kind of thing would rather spend it on their research. Ordinary humans might call us magicians, but that would be wrong. In fact, there are only 5 magicians in the whole world. Magicians are what we call people who can do something no one else can. They can accomplish feats beyond the means of modern science and perform genuine miracles. Similarly, magic is the label we use for mystics, magical mysteries that can be realized with amount of time and skill. Well, magecraft, though it looks mysterious, is something anyone can do with enough time and resources. I'm a mage, and the kind of mystics I use are merely magecraft, not true magic. Confusing, I know, but that's how it works. Also, modern civilization doesn't accept the existence of mages. We believe in manipulate and study things that can't be measured, which puts us at odds with modern society. Above all, there's no point to any of what we do. You'd be so much happier just going off to a normal school and becoming a normal adult than you would studying magecraft. Human technology has accomplished great things. For the last few centuries, magecraft has been playing catch-up to the progress of civilization. Nothing is impossible for humanity anymore. Miracles that could only be realized with magecraft in the distant past have been reduced to common tools and appliances. Even so, magecraft does have its benefits. Just as there are some things only science can accomplish, there remain heights only mystics can reach. If science is racing into the future, then mages are racing into the past. I think the Tosaka Grand Master said that. Whether you're heading into the past or the future, your destination is the same: zero, or something like that. We can shelve the difficult topics for now. Philosophy is for the elderly. Not sure that that's an entirely accurate sentiment. I think philosophy is for everyone. I finish my breakfast and pick up my bag.
そうだ、ペンダント持っていかないと。
I'm reluctant to take something so valuable to school, but it would be a waste to leave it behind.
何しろ100年ものの石だものね。うちにある宝石の中じゃダントツで最強だし。
One could even say that it's on an entirely different level. I obtained the gem after decoding my father's will last night. It's imbued with 10 years worth of my own magical energy. I've been told that the Tosaka family has heirloom jewels passed down since the olden days, and this might be one of them. Tosaka mages specialize at the conversion and flow of power. We channel our magical energy into precious gems whenever we have a spare moment. Simply put, I'm the gun and the jewels are the bullets. And the other main thing I've inherited from my father is the magic crest engraved on my left arm. A magic crest is proof that I'm the heir to our lineage. It's like all the techniques of the Tosaka concentrated into a tattoo.
まだ始まったわけじゃないけど、用心に越したことはないか。
For now, I stow my pendant, my father's keepsake, in a pocket.
切り札だものね。これに秘められた魔力ならできないことはないぐらいなんだし。
It's 7:30. I better leave soon. I don't want to be late for school.
シュミース、für Valentine。
I weave energy into a brief foreign phrase. As a mage, I can't neglect the security of my own home base. That still applies even if I never had so much as a single burglar, lost child, or stray cat wander into my home. Actually, I don't think the neighbors have ever even come over to say hello.
別にいいけどね。野良猫でさえ入ってこないってどういうことよ。
I look up at the mansion that's been my home for over a decade. Fuyuki is a strange city. One side of the intersection dividing the residential areas filled with old samurai estates, while the other side I'm on has an abundance of mansions built in European style. Apparently, the whole bunch of foreign families immigrated here long ago, but I've never seen a single foreigner around. There's even a cemetery for foreigners in Shinto, the new part of the city across the river, but it was built for the generations that immigrated here.
日本の土が合わなかったのかな。
I make a mental note to ask the priest about it next time I visit the church. He's nothing if not full of boring trivia, for sure.
あれ？
Something feels off as soon as I step outside.
なんだろう、思ったより静かなんですけど。
There's no trace of the typical morning bustle. At 7:30 in the morning, there would normally be students and workers on their daily commute.
まあ、こういう日
I
もある
guess
か。
it's just one of those days. Maybe everyone slept in. It's unusually cold today, so everyone must be snuggled up in bed.
けどさすがに。
Still, though. Ooh. Even if that were true, it's strange that there isn't a single student on the street. At this time of day, you'd expect to see at least a school uniform or two. And yet, from where I'm standing, the school gate, it looks like the morning club activities are just starting up. Which can only mean...
あれ遠坂今朝は一段と早いのね。
やっぱりそうきたか。
With a light laugh, I turned to face the student who called out to me.
おはよう。今日も寒いねこりゃ。
The girl who addressed me so casually, Ayako Mitsuzuri. She's my classmate in 2A, and she has quite a history.
おはよう三辻さん。つかぬことを聞くけど、今何時だかわかる？
I apologize if I massacre any of these names. My Japanese names are not my forte.
何時って7時前じゃない。遠坂寝ぼけてる？
She waves her hand in front of my face as if to ask if anybody's home. Ayako is one of my few friends, and she knows I'm not a morning person. She probably figured out by now that I'm still not completely with it.
うちの時計1時間
The
早かっ
clocks
た
at home...
しかも軒並み。
Let me say that.
目覚まし時計はおろか、柱時計まできっかり早まってた。
What's going on here? Father must have set the clocks to go haywire once I took the pendant out of the underground cellar.
遠坂
気にしないで。別に大したことじゃないから。それより、三辻さんは今日も朝練？
ええ、弓道部は問題児も多いし、うまいのが一人減ったからね。4月の新入生獲得のために少しぐらいは見栄えを良くしとかないと。
そう。気苦労が絶えないのね、相変わらず。
他人事だからって言ってくれるわ。あ、ついでだから見ていく？遠坂が見学する分には男どもも喜ぶけど。
I'm acquainted with 3 of its members. One is Ayako, the girl I'm talking to now. I barely ever speak to the other 2. Of those latter 2, there's one I actually can explain away simply as an acquaintance. I became friends with Ayako, the club captain, because I'd been watching the club from afar.
そうね。様子を見るだけなら付き合うわ。早く来すぎたからやることもないし。
よし、じゃあ善は急げ。早速行こう。
One of our school's trademarks is its well-equipped archery range. The chair of the school board has a passion for kyudo, traditional Japanese archery, so they built a magnificent range on campus. It's kind of a waste for a high school club, to be honest.
ほらほら、まだ開始まで時間があるし、中でお茶しようぜ、遠坂。
Ayako tugs on my arm, looking somewhat pleased. If I'm being honest, her risque way of speaking is a bad habit. As Ayako said, there's no one else at the range. We ship Japanese tea so that it's hot, it numbs the tongue as we prepare for today's classes. The hot drink is delicious in the quiet wintry archery range.
さて、単刀直入に聞くけど、そっちの調子はどうなのよ、遠坂。いい加減頼りになる相棒は見つかった？
She uses the occasion to ask me something completely ridiculous.
いきなり本題に入るのね、あなたは。その言いぶりだとそっちはもう見つけたんだ。
ノーコメント。遠坂が手を沸かすまではこっちも秘密さ。で、どうなのよ。その疲れた顔を見ると脈ありって感じだけど。
こっちもノーコメント。あなたに隠してもどうせ見抜かれるか。
Yeah, no comment is kind of an ambiguous answer to any question.
綾子の方はお互いのんびりしてる余裕はないはずだけど。
そうなんだけど、私も雲行きは怪しいわ。とりあえず取り繕うことはできるけど、ことがことでしょ。この先の命運がかかってるんだから妥協するわけにもいかないし。
勝手に決めて私に負けるのも嫌？
もちろん。私にとって重要なのはあんたを任すことだもの。何が手に入るとか何を手に入れるとかは二の次よ。
He chuckles confidently.
似た者同士ね、私たち。
ええ、初めて会った時に言ったでしょ。あんたとはそういう関係にあるんだって。
She did, didn't she? Kill or be killed. I'm sure that's how it'll be between the two of us. I was genuinely surprised to have someone say that right off the bat. Our friendship won't bloom unless we're constantly trading blows, is what Ayako was getting at. I agree with her. In the 2 years since then, I still haven't figured out whether she's my friend or my nemesis.
ところでさ、私たちなんでこんな話してるんだっけ？
なんでって言い出したのは遠坂でしょ。あんたがいつまでも彼氏がいないのは女としてどうよなんてこぼすもんだから。なら3年になる前にどっちが先に男作るかって勝負になったんじゃない。
ああ、そうだった。売り言葉に買い言葉ってやつだった。で、遅れを取った方が一日言いなりになるんだっけ？
ええ、今時子供でも交わさない約束だけど、あんたと私に限って往生際が悪いってことはないでしょ。どんな結果になろうと負けた方はおとなしく勝者に従うことになる。それを思うと私は今から楽しみで楽しみで。
Ayako snickers in delight. My goodness. Ayako Mitsuzuri is, to put it mildly, a handful. I'll admit it, I'm looking forward to winning myself, so that goes for both of us.
そう。けど三鶴さん、楽しむのは結構だけど、目的を違えないよう気をつけなさい。勝負の内容は後先だけじゃないでしょ。
分かってるって。遠坂より早く遠坂が心底羨ましがるような関係にならないと完全勝利とは言えないからね。まあ私たちにとってはそれが一番厄介な問題なんだが、どんなにいい男だろうと好きになれなきゃ意味がない。
Ayako's sigh is heavy. From what I've heard, she's known as a bit of a misandrist. Can't put too much stock in gossip, though. That she made this bet at all means less than that she just doesn't like boys, and more that she hasn't found the right person. That aside,
ちょっと、私たちって何よ、私たちって。断っておきますけど、私はそっちと違って冷血感じゃありません。男の子を好きになるなんて問題でも何でもないわ。
ああ、それ嘘。もしくは気づいていないだけ。遠坂が男を気にかけるなんてことは絶対ないもの。今まで数えきれないぐらい告白されたくせに一つも色良い返事してないじゃない。 少しでも興味があるなら付き合おうって思うでしょ。
発想が貧困ね。その場合すでに好きな相手がいるから断ってるって話もありじゃない？
おお、すっごい美談。いいね、そういうの。ロマンだな。
Her side tells me that it would be nice if it were true. Right now, Dawson, I'm on, as far as I know, I'm on the Saber route. Started from the very beginning. And like I said at the beginning, though I guess you weren't here for that, I don't know which decisions lead to what routes, so honestly, as far as I know, like I said, I'm on the Saber route, but that could change at any given time. I really don't care, can't hide anything from her.
そうね、私もそう思う。
She's right. I know very well how cold I am.
認めるわ。私、こと恋愛に関しては素人みたい。
そういうこと。似た者同士だって言ったの遠坂でしょ。で、もうじき7時か。秘密の話はこの辺にしとこう。いつ人がやってくるかわからないし、朝になったら学生らしく振る舞わないとな。
まあ、三辻さんにもそういう世間体があったなんて意外だわ。ええ、これだけでも早起きした甲斐があったみたい。
あんたほど筋金入ってないけどね。私の世間体なんて遠坂凛に比べたら灯籠の斧ってもんよ。あんたの猫っかぶりは擬態っていうより別人格のレベルよ。別人格。
Ayako sniffs exaggeratedly. I empty the rest of my teacup. She poured me and brew a new pot.
で、遠坂はどうして部活に入らないのよ。運動神経がないなんてざれ言は聞かないからね。私は去年の体力測定でことごとくあんたに負けたのまだ恨んでるんだから。
あら、肺活量では三辻さんに負けたわよ、私。あと、体重も三辻さんのが上だったけど。
やったー、重さで3キロ上回ったって体重で勝っても嬉しくないってのよ、このタヌキ。
Ayako slaps the table.
危ない。お茶がこぼれるでしょ、三辻さん。首相なんだから道場は大事になさい。
うるさい。私は首相である前に遠坂のライバルだ。部員がいなけりゃあんたに食ってかかるのは当然よ。
My fave girl in Fate? I think I'd have to go with Ryder, to be honest. She has quite a unique idea about beauty. A beautiful woman must walk the martial path. She's always going on about that. Not surprisingly, she's well versed in most martial arts. Kyudo was the discipline she was least skilled at, so she joined the club and worked her way up to captain. She's probably one of the top 3 people in our school you'd least want to mess with.
あら、部員がいなければ首相じゃないなんて問題発言じゃないそれ。
問題発言なもんですか。私はお飾りの首相だから、できることって言ったら不良部員を取り締まることだけよ。 私以上にしゃがりっぱなやつがいるんだから、師匠としての面目なんてないわ。
そうなの？藤村先生、三鳥さんは飛び抜けてうまいって言ってたけど。
あの人がそう言うんなら、そりゃ少しは自信が持てるけど、まあいなくなっちまったやつのことなんて考えても仕方ないか。そうね、藤村先生がそう言ってくれたんなら真面目に首相やんないとまずいか。
I haven't read the Tsukihime remake mostly because it's not on a platform that I have access to right at the moment. That's why I enjoyed it over on Otaku Daikun's channel when he streamed the Tsukihime remake.
そうそう、噂をすれば影。そろそろ部員がやってくるからでしょ。
I
私
have
が
to
おいと
agree
ます
with
る
you
けど、
though, Dawson. It
三
is
鳥さん
really
はき
good.
ちんと師匠になりなさい。
何、見ていかないのシャ？
見てもわからないもの。遠くから眺める分にはいいけどね。不心得者が道場にいるわけにはいかないでしょ。
I have not read Witch on the Holy Night either. I know, I'm a terrible Fate fan.
おはようございます、師匠。
It is actually on my to-read list. Probably, and if I can get my hands on Witch on a Holy Night, probably end up reading it fairly soon.
ああ、おはようマト。今朝は一人？
はい、力になれず申し訳ありません。
ああ、いいっていいって。本人が弓をやらないって言うんなら無理をさせても仕方がない。
Ayako speaks to the first club member to arrive.
それじゃあ失礼するわ。また後でね、三鳥さん。
ああ、また後でね、遠坂。
お疲れ様です、遠坂先輩。ありがとう。さくらもしっかりね。
Yeah, but see, Dawson, I don't have a Nintendo Switch, and right now I don't know if it's in my budget to get my hands on a Nintendo Switch in the very near future, unfortunately. I leave the dojo behind so as not to get in the way.
いやあ、遠坂。おはよう。朝から君に会えるなんてついてるな。
Oh no. And here comes the person I least wanted to see. No, he's the person everyone least wanted to see.
おはよう、マト君。今日は早いのね。
当たり前だろ。首相なんだから。早めに来ないと一年に示しがつかないじゃないか。
Shinji Mato from Class 2C grins at me. He's the vice captain of the Kyudo Club and darling of the half of the girls at school. Can't imagine why. It's mostly thanks to his looks, of course, but he's also admired for his good grades, social graces, being kind to girls, and being overall heartthrob or something like that. I really don't follow that kind of stuff. It's just what I hear my classmates say.
そう。ご機嫌なところ悪いんだけど、一文字抜けてるわ、マト君。大事な字だから忘れない方がいいと思うけど。
I'll keep my eyes out for maybe a one on sale or something, see if I can get my hands on it.
一文字抜けてるって何がさ。
幸福の福。 字は違うけど響きは一緒でしょ、副首相さん。気をつけなさい。別に首相も副首相も変わらないけど、変に意識するとこだわってるみたいに聞こえるでしょ。
そうだね。今後は気をつける。ありがとう、遠坂。
お礼を言われるようなことはしてないけど、まあマト君がそう思ったのなら私には関係ないか。
With that, I turn and leave the range.
ちょっと待てよ。見学に来たんだろ。なら見ていけばいいじゃないか。遠坂なら大歓迎だよ。
Yes, I'm playing the remake on PC.
遠慮するわ。練習の邪魔をしたくないもの。
そんなの構わないよ。他の連中が気に障るんなら締め出すからさ。ちょっと寄っていけって。
だから邪魔をする気はないって言ってるでしょ。それに私別に弓道に興味があるわけじゃないから。知らないやつのシャを見ても嬉しくないわ。
なんだよ遠坂。弓道に興味はなかったのか。へえ。だっていうのに放課後になると遠くから見てたのはそういうわけかな。
I don't know what he's planning and what he's playing at, but it seems to have seriously misunderstood
なん
things.
だ、知ってたのマト君。
ああ、よく目があったんだぜ。僕と遠坂。茶を終えてさ、斬新の時に限って遠坂は僕を見ていたろ。声を返したかったけど一応決まりでね。車上では声を上げちゃいけないんだ。
That would be a huge undertaking, Dawson. There's so many waifu in all of Fate. That would be a massive, probably like 2.5, 3 hour long video to do all of them at once. Shinji starts closing in on me, looking pleased with himself. I see the triumphant glint in his eye, competing with that a feeble smile.
勘違いしてたよ。遠坂は弓が好き
Although
な
I'm not going to disagree, it kind of would be a nice waifu file to
だ
see.
からなんで遠坂は道場を見ていたのかな。
Ah, now I see. It would sound like that, wouldn't it?
離れてくれないかしらマト君。私あまり人に近寄られるのは好きじゃないし。
なに遠坂。
Shinji, you're all up in my face. Back off.
あきれた。ここまで言ってもわからないのね。趣味じゃないけど仕方ないか。簡単にあなたにも理解できるように言ってあげる。いいマト君。私は弓道に興味がない以上にあなたに興味はないって言ってるのよ。実際あなたが車上にいたなんて今初めて知ったぐらいだし、きっとこれからも目に入らないわ。
He would have to do if he did do the Fate waifu, it would have to be in sections like that. He'd have to do one for Fate, one for Apocrypha, one for El Malloy case files. He'd literally have to break it into sections like that to even be manageable, I would assume.
なんだと。
I must have touched a nerve because he tried to grab me roughly. I twist out of his reach and turn to leave.
それじゃあねマト君。 自意識過剰なのも結構だけど、ほどほどにしておいた方がいいわよ。
Oh, burn!
遠坂、お前。
Shinji sounds like he's about to say something, but he keeps his temper and doesn't chase after me. The guy is all style, no substance. If he had even a little backbone, the people around him wouldn't suffer nearly so much. I take the rear entrance into the campus from the archery range. It's past 7 now, but there still aren't students in the hallways.
あれ、遠坂さんだ。
Oh, we're getting a Fade Hollow Ataraxia in English too, are we? Nice. Hopefully it comes to all platforms. That would be really cool. Good
おは
morning,
ようご
Miss
ざいます、
Fujimara.
藤村先生。
My bad.
おはよう遠坂さん。ちゃんと挨拶してくれて先生は嬉しいよ。
The strange woman pretends to sob in daylight. It may be hard to believe, but this extraordinarily affectionate and happy-go-lucky woman is actually a teacher here. That is hard to
先
believe.
生、ちゃんと挨拶をする以外にする挨拶があるのでしょうか。
うん、あるわよ。1年生はちゃんと挨拶してくれるんだけどね、上級生になってくると私の名字で挨拶しないんだから。遠坂さんはああいう輩の真似しちゃダメだからね。
はあ、よくわかりませんけど、先生に失礼なことはしませんが。
よしよし。ああ、みんながみんな遠坂さんみたいだったらいいのにな。
With a parting wave and a see ya, Miss Fujimara leaves. Fortunately, she isn't my homeroom teacher. Miss Fujimura teaches English. Her sunny attitude belies her expert rank in Japanese fencing, kendo. In her student days, they called her the Fuyuki Tiger. That's the mystery, though. You'd think someone known as a tiger would be feared, not adored, right? I am looking forward to Ayako coming to FGO. I'm just not looking forward to having to wait that long for Aoko. She's gonna be a great one to have in Grand Order, assuming I have enough courts to bribe her. Miss Fujimura cheerily heads off in the direction of the archery range. For some reason, she's the faculty advisor for the Kyoto Club instead of the Kendo Club. Well, that makes no sense. Shouldn't she be the advisor for the Kendo Club? Anyway, it's just before 7:30. I can see students doing their club activities on the school grounds, but there's hardly anyone indoors. Except
遠坂。
he always blurts out my name like I did something wrong every time he sees me.
あら、生徒会長。こんな朝早くから校舎の見回り？それとも各部室の手入れかしら？どっちでもいいけど相変わらず豆ね、そういうとこ。
そういうお前こそ何を企んでいる。部活動もしていないお前がこんな早くに何の用か。
I'm trying not to think about how little time I have to save for CL2.
ただの気まぐれよ。竜斗くんちみたいに早起きじゃないもの、私。
Because I gotta have enough quartz in there for Draco as well, who's coming out fairly soon, I believe. The student council president's handsome face darkens with suspicion. He seems to have it out for me. I really don't know why. Maybe me saying temples are dull, pass, is what started it?
一つ聞いておくが、最近夜遅くまで校舎にいたことはあるか、登坂。
ないわね。私が帰宅部だって知ってるでしょ、竜斗君は。
当然だ。
Sounds like a very boring club, to be honest. The going home club.
情報は把握している。
そう。なら私に聞くまでもないでしょ。なんだってそんなことを聞くか知らないけど、生徒会の仕事を部外者に押し付けちゃまずいんじゃない？情報収集は一人でやりなさいよ。私みたいな部外者に頼らないで。
It is going to be a lot of grinding. Unfortunately, I'm running out of free quests from chapters that will give me quartz, and they don't give you nearly enough quartz for logins, so I may have to turn to the shop to top up my quartz, and I really would rather not.
うちの会計の首根っこ掴んで悪さをしたのを知らぬと思ったが、このメギツ。
Yes, there are quite a few characters upcoming that I would like to have enough quartz to summon.
あら、人聞きが悪いわね。あれは三辻さんに頼まれて部費の割合を明らかにしただけでしょ。みんなの予算がどこに使われているか調べるなんて生徒として当然の行為だと思うけど。
なんと、うちの会計を1週間休ませた精神的ダメージが当然の行為なのか。とんでもない倫理観をお持ちのようだな、相変わらず。
あなたもね、部下の手綱ぐらいちゃんと握ってなさい。
Can we have a recap of what psychological damage she did? Because I
文化系ばかり
don't
ひいきす
remember
るのは
Rin
レア
doing
じゃない
anything
わ。
like that. I will try to spend, if I have to turn to the shop to top up my quartz, I am spending as little as
分か
possible.
っている。
Stuff's
だからこ
expensive.
そ俺の手で不正を正したかったのだが。
That's a quality of life upgrade that they should do on an update. Reduce the cost of quartz in FGO. It's not like they can't afford to let us have the quartz for a little bit less. Just then, an unexpected visitor makes his presence known.
と、悪い。頼んだのはこっちなのに、エミヤに任せっきりにしてしまった。許せ。
Don't worry about it. Where's the next one? We don't have much time.
ああ、次は視聴覚室だ。前から調子が悪かったそうなんだが、この度ついに天寿を全うされた。
If it's completely broken, I can't fix it. But it'd be easier to buy a new one.
そうなんだが、一応見てくれると助かる。俺から見れば臨終だが、お前から見れば仮病かもしれん。
Okay, I'll try. Beckoned by the other student, the president leaves. I know they would never do that, but honestly, they'd make more in the long run because people would be more inclined to hit the shop and buy quartz if it cost less. See how in the long run they'd make more money because more of us would buy the quartz instead of accumulate it naturally. I'd stopped thinking during the sudden turn of events. The other boy wrench and screwdriver in hand, turns as if he's remembered something. You're early today, Tosaka. He awkwardly mutters and leaves. Was that supposed to be a greeting? The president and the student called Emiya walk off into the distance. That would be Shiro Emiya from class 2C.
それはいいんだけどさ。
Uh, the wrench looked right at home in his hand, but I'm not sure if it's because it makes him look tough or handy. At the moment, yes, FGO is my only gotcha game. At 7:30 a.m., there's nobody else in classroom 2A. I take my seat at my desk and flip through my math workbook. There's still 30 minutes until morning homeroom. I've got time to kill until my classmates start arriving. The classroom is lively as lunch break begins after fourth period. My school has a cafeteria, so only about half the students stay in the room. It's mostly girls that stay behind. Oh, Grinder, I'm not sure I really want to read your comment there. Bend over, touch your toes, and show you where the monster goes. That's harsh, man. The girls think the cafeteria is a bit too liberal with the seasonings, so...
登坂さん、よかったらお昼ご飯一緒に食べませんか？
We girls tend to enjoy our lunches as a group.
ありがとう、三枝さん。けどごめんなさい。私今日は学食なんです。今朝は寝過ごしてしまってお弁当を作る余裕がなかったものですから。そうなんですか。ごめんなさい。そうとも知らず呼び止めてしまって。私余計なことしましたね。
Seguza looks guiltily at her feet. Ho Grinder, I tell you what, I am old enough to know better and still young enough to do it anyway. Among the refined and well-behaved students of Class A, she's the most demure. For some reason, she's really nice to me.
余計なことだなんてそんなことはありません。今日はたまたまだから気にしないで。また明日これに懲りず声をかけてください。
I have actually been looking at Reverse 1999 as another gotcha game to start playing, but I haven't decided if I'm going to start that one yet.
はい。でも登坂さんでも寝過ごすことがあるんですね。
Perhaps my smile made her feel better. Seguza turned back to her table looking relieved. She's adorable. Yukika Segusa isn't drop-dead gorgeous, but her smile always puts everyone around her at ease.
Eh, そうなんです。なんとかごまかしてますけど、 本当は寝ぼすけなんですよ、私。部活だって朝起きられないから入ってないんです。
Segusa somehow maintains an elegant air even when startled. Watching her reactions is always so calming, but that doesn't mean I have time to just stand around. Have time to just stand here and talk. If I keep up a conversation with someone so disarming, the real me is bound to show herself.
それじゃあ食堂に行ってきます。三枝さんもごゆっくり。はい、遠坂さんも。
Segusa and I exchange some graceful greetings, and she returns to her friends. I see that she's eating with Kidi Makidera and Kane Himuro. Oh, right. Wasn't Segusa the track and field club manager? Makidera and Himuro are the track and field club's rising stars. Makidera's bad influence, with whom I go window shopping on days off. I don't know Himura too well.
お、売られたね、ゆきっち。だから言ったでしょ。遠坂は弁当持ってこないって。釣りたかったらあいつの分も飯用意しないとね。
マキ、それは私たちも食堂に移動すればいいだけの話だわ。
ダメダメ、食堂は狭いんだから。弁当組が座れるスペースなんてねっての。それ前の休みだってさ、二人で遊びに行ったのにあいつだけ得しちゃってさ。やだよね、美人を鼻にかけた優等生は。
Makidera takes hold of Segusa's desk as she continues to rant about me. Despite her foul mouth, she actually wears a kimono really well, like a picturesque Japanese beauty.
牧野寺、君の陰口は遠坂城に聞こえているようだが。
Meanwhile, Himuro's cool and solid demeanor are a complete foil to that of Makidera.
やべ、遠坂に聞かれた。ゲゲ、めっちゃ睨んでるじゃん、あいつ。
Yeah, you just grown. Which of your top 3 are you replacing? Did you just get tired of it?
別に遠坂さん、まっちゃんを睨んでなんかないと思うけど。睨んでんだよ、あれ。あいつは笑ってる時が一番怖いんだから。なんだよ、いいじゃんか口ぐらい。多めに見ろよ。私と遠坂の仲だろ。たい焼きおごってやっただろ。
Lady Makidera puts her cheeks out in a pout, waving her disposable chopsticks in the air. Would you believe that her hobby is collecting wind chimes? The world works in strange ways. At any rate, it's rude to Segusa to stare at the three of them. Caught between me and the foul-mouthed Makidera, Segusa looks like she doesn't know what to do with herself.
気にしないでいいのよ、三枝さん。
Oh, doesn't have as interesting a story as you thought it would? That's too bad.
それと牧寺さん、おごらされたのは私で、品物はたい焼きではなくクレープでした。無意識に事実を改ざんする悪癖、次あたりに直さないと考えますよ。マジ怖え、あの笑顔。
That scares the daylights out of me. Makidera holds up her lunchbox lid like some kind of shield. I bid the odd trio farewell, leave the classroom. And slide the door closed. Oops.
なんだよ、大差ないじゃんか、たい焼きもクレープも。どっちも甘いの皮で包んでるんだからさ。
Taiyaki crepes. Those sound so good. Now I'm hungry. Oh man. Macadira utters something blasphemous for a girl.
たい焼きとクレープが同じですって？
She thinks taiyaki and crepes are the same. Is she even human? Are all desserts the same to her? If I'd known that her taste buds can't distinguish Fleur's 500 yen very, very berry from an 80 yen taiyaki at Idomaya, damn you, Kidi Macadira, could have saved 240 yen, or 420 yen. FGO has a really awesome story, I gotta say. It's probably one of the best stories I've read so far. It is top tier. The writing is really, really good. I must still be tired from last night. The cafeteria sounds like a pain, so I'll just buy some bread from the counter and eat on the roof. To be perfectly honest, Dawson, I am mostly playing FGO specifically for the story. It is that good. I purchased my lunch and head to the unoccupied roof. Though it's different in the summertime, during the winter the roof is a convenient place to eat that other students tend to avoid. It's too cold to hang out there during lunch, but that's a small price to pay for privacy.
さて、とりあえずご飯と。
I indulge in the tomato sandwich and hot lemon drink I bought from the cafeteria. It's a simple lunch, made all the more delicious by the fact that I can enjoy it up here in peace. I finish my sandwich and sip on the warm, lemony drink. I'm a little tired. I haven't seen too much of Nikkei, except what I've watched on Otaku Daikun's streams. It seems like it's got a really good story, but like I said, I haven't seen enough of it to make that call for myself. It's hard to balance being an overachiever with avoiding human contact as much as possible. As the saying goes, one should accomplish at both the pen and the sword. It's a point of pride, no conviction, that I be the top student of the school. Well, sure it won't get censored too heavily or harshly, but I mean, most everything is unfortunately censored in at least some way. Something it would be nice if we didn't have to deal with, but we kind of do. So if we can, as a community, limit the amount of censorship we have to deal with, that's great. I decided that if I was going to be a student, then I would be the very best. I didn't want people looking down on the Tosaka name. That's how Rin Tosaka came to be a perfect, flawless student. On the other hand, my occupation as a mage is dangerous, so I shouldn't associate too much with normal people. When a mage is discovered by the public, she has no choice but to eliminate witnesses to protect herself. I'd rather not resort to that. That's why I keep my social interactions purely superficial, out of necessity. I only hang out with Macadira on my days off, and I turn down invitations from far more sociable people like Segusa. It's difficult walking a tightrope of being the number one student at the school while making sure I don't become anyone else's number one. And sure, there are times when it tires me out and I feel like it's a real drag.
もう時間か。
At the moment, yeah, 1999 is the only other gacha game that's got me really interested. I have Genshin on my PC, and I don't really play it all that often. Just because I haven't really been able to get into that one. I finished the hot lemon drink and stand up. That's enough sentimentality for today. Time to go back downstairs and become Rin Tosaka again.
Dewa, ホームルームを終了する。日直は日誌と戸締まりの確認を。部活動のない生徒は速やかに帰宅するように。
Class 2A's teacher gives us his usual spiel and leaves the room. As far as I know, he said it exactly the same way all year.
遠坂、今日はもうお帰り？
ええ、朝方麻藤君と一件あったし、面倒になる前に帰るわ。
Yeah, I heard about the Star Rail and Fate collab. Almost makes you wonder if they'll flip that around and have Fate do a, swap it around so we get the other end of that deal. Maybe introduce some Honkai Star Rail characters to FGO?
やっぱりそうか。麻藤のやつ、今朝は特に荒れてたからさ。遠坂に手ひどく扱われたんだろうなって思ってた。
そう、迷惑をかけてしまったかしら、三辻さん。
別に麻藤が下級生をいびるのはいつものことだし、あれはあれでいい精神鍛錬になるよ。
そう、よかった。じゃあこの埋め合わせはまた今度。
はいはい、これに懲りずまた寄っていってちょうだい。
I make my way home without taking any detours. My time as Rin Tosaka, the honor student, ends once I leave the school. The next half of the day is reserved for the other me. I have to become a mage of the Tosaka. When I arrive back at the house, I'm greeted with the pulsing light of my answering machine.
留守電なんて珍しいな。相手はやっぱりあんたか、キレ。
I had a feeling I know what he's going to say, but I'd better listen or I won't hear the end of it later. I press the play button and hear a familiar male voice.
私だ。分かっていると思うが、期限は明日までだぞ、リン。
No, I don't think I've watched that one either, Dawson. At least I don't think I have. It doesn't sound familiar.
あまり悠長に構えられては困る。残る席はあと2つだ。早々にマスターを揃えねばならん。
The priest cuts straight to the point.
マスターの権利を放棄するというのなら、今日中に連絡しろ。予備の魔術師を派遣するにも時間がかかる。
Liar, I bet you could find a backup right away.
お前にはすでに0時の兆しが現れているのだ。さっさとサーバントを召喚し、0時を開け。もっとも、聖杯戦争に参加しないというのならば話は別だ。命が惜しいのなら、早々に教会に駆け込むがいい。
It was clear the message in It was clear message in simple language. If you're going to fight, then be ready by today. If you aren't, then retire because you're in the way.
言われなくても分かってるわよ。
It's only to be expected, I guess. Today's the last day I can drag this out. Thankfully, I managed to decipher Father's notes yesterday. My battle preparations are in order. All that's left is to seize the right to participate, as he said.
聖杯戦争。たった一つきりの聖杯を奪い合う殺し合い。何百年も前から伝わってきた聖杯の儀式か。
The mages who take part in the Holy Grail War are called masters. It doesn't denote a rank of any kind, it merely describes their role. There's a condition to participate in the Holy Grail War. You must summon a familiar called a servant and form a contract with them. Regardless of your skills as a mage, you are not recognized as a master unless you command a servant. There's a clear difference between servants and normal familiars. The way you summon and use them are different. Mages who plan to fight in the Holy Grail War prepare summoning catalysts, but
ほんと、父さんもセイバーにゆかりのものを残してくれればよかったのに。
I don't want any relics with a connection. I don't own any relics with a connection to a servant. Well, actually, you do. I'm pretty sure you have one. I can summon one, yes? In fact, I could do it right now if I wanted to, as well as form a contract. This town's ley lines are under the jurisdiction of the Tosaka. I'm the heir to a clan that's administered the land for generations, so my performance will not take a backseat to some visiting mage. Although, while that is true, it'd be awfully incompetent of me to embark on a figurative voyage without a compass.
サーバントはシンボルによって引き寄せられる。
When's it supposed to come out, Dawson? Servants, no.
強力なサーバントを呼び出したいのなら、そのサーバントにゆかりのあるものが必要不可欠なのだ。
In other words, I'd need some outrageously valuable item, like a sword or a piece of armor the servant owned, or maybe a bone or heraldry related to them.
父さんの遺言に期待してたんだけどな。これはこれでものすごい切り札なんだけど。
The pendant I discovered in the basement last night is an ancient artifact of the highest quality. It's amazing all on its own. Still, it won't help me summon a servant.
いいわよ。そんなものに頼らなくたってなんとかなるわ。そもそも私以外にセーバーを扱えるマスターなんているはずないし。
All right, I've made up my mind. Oh, you gotta wait till 2015 or 2025 for it? Well, I hope it's worth the wait. I'd rather not get another earful, and waiting until the last minute doesn't sit right with me. Now the real challenge begins. Tonight I'm going to summon a servant while I'm in my peak condition and acquire Saber by force. night. The clock reads almost 2 a.m. This is the period where everything lines up. My condition peaks at 2 a.m. sharp. In terms of limits, this will be my first and last chance, so I can't afford even the slightest mistake.
消去の中に大挙。大挙の陣を4つ刻んで召喚の陣で囲んだ。
I inscribe the magic circles into the floor of the basement. Actually, it doesn't take a major evocation to call forth a servant. Servants are invited by the Holy Grail. Masters anchor them to the world and supply the magical energy to materialize them, but the servants are the ones who choose to respond to the summons.
Sony、銀と鉄。礎に石と契約の太鼓。ソニは我が大使、シュバイン用具。降り立つ風には壁を。四方の門は閉じ、王冠より逃げ。王国に至るサンサロは循環せよ。
Madoka Magica? What's that one about? Haven't heard of that. Magic circles are normally drawn with blood, but tonight I draw mine with melted jewels. I'm using up half the jewels I accumulated over my lifetime, so I'll never financially recover from this if it fails.
満たせ、満たせ、満たせ、満たせ、満たせ。繰り返し都度に5度。ただ満たされる時を破却する。
It's almost 2 a.m. I finish drawing the summoning circle, pass down through the Tosaka line, and face it with all my being.
アーファー。
I flick a formless switch within myself. With a click, I feel my insides turn over something else. My normal nerves invert and become circuits for conducting magical energy. Rin Tosaka is no longer human. She's just a component in the execution of mystics. I melt from my fingers. No, I'm filling up from my fingers. The mana I'm taking in is so dense it overwrites my bodily sensations. That's why I'm being destroyed at the same time I'm being filled. Running through my body is the power mana from the atmosphere. I convert it into different types of energy through my body's circuits. A mage's body is nothing but circuits. Circuits to connect to the ethereal, to the material. The mystical outcome we produce is that we call magecraft. My body grows hot. It seems like horns are growing from my forehead. It seems like wings are sprouting from my back. It seems like scales are covering my hands. It feels like there's water pooling around my ankles. Sweat drips. Stab, stab, swords pierce my body. These are the stigmata that reject my body, which becomes a circuit. No matter how gifted a mage is, we're only human. In a human body, the pain is something we must live with whenever we use magecraft. The cycle doesn't let up. Beyond the agony, deep within the trance, lies the mental state necessary for connection. Pain wriggles in my left arm. To aid the caster, my magic crest automatically begin an incantation, invading my nervous system. The mana in the atmosphere I've taken in turns to blood. It's like molten lead. While my activated magic crest resembles thorny nerves, with a crunching sensation it creeps throughout my body like a thorny centipede. Within the hurt, I forget myself. At the same time, I can feel it taking hold of me like I've reached where I need to go. My hypersensitive hearing picks up the ticking clock in the parlor. 10 seconds left until 2 a.m. The power filling my body is unquestionably complete. Time to begin. I convert the mana I've collected into magical energy for fixation. All that's left is to feed all that energy into the engine, the summoning circle, until my body runs dry. Heed my words.
汝の身は我がもとに、我が命運は汝の剣に。聖杯のよるべに従い、この断りに従うならば答えよ。
My vision goes dark. What lies before me now is the fifth factor, said to be imperceptible to the naked eye. My vision shuts off on its own, fearing what I might see.
誓いよここに、我は常世すべての善となるもの。我は常世すべての悪を敷くもの。汝三代の言霊をまとう七伝。抑止の魔より鍛え、天秤の守り手よ。
That went off without a hitch. The Gotcha is a dark, magical girl story. Oh. Seems like it could be pretty interesting then. It feels so perfect. It's like I'm reeling in a whale with a fishing rod. Flawless. I'm positive I just drew the strongest card. I can't wait for my vision to return. It'll take a few more seconds, but when it does, I'm sure the strongest servant will. Be nowhere in sight?
はい？
Nothing is there. The room doesn't look different at all. I spun that much ether into this ritual only for absolutely nothing to materialize? On top of that, I think I just heard something explode in the parlor.
なんでよ！
I bolt. My head's empty at this point. I just run. I race up the stairs from the basement.
扉、壊れてる！
The door's broken. The door to the parlor is askew, off its hinges. There isn't any point in turning the doorknob. And since it won't open, whether I push or pull,
もう、邪魔だから！
I kick it down and burst into the room. And the moment I enter the parlor, everything becomes clear. Everything is in tatters. Rubble is strewn across everything as if something has fallen through the ceiling. Not something, try someone. On top of it all sits a man cocking his head arrogantly. He must be some kind of criminal. Yes, clearly he's a criminal. But something graver draws my attention. The grandfather clock, having escaped destruction, tells time precisely. Now I remember. Right, of course, the clocks were an hour ahead today, weren't they? Which means it's 1 a.m. Still a full hour left until I'm in peak spellcasting form.
またやっちゃった。
I can complete tasks as well as anyone else, but suffer from the curse of my genetics. When it really counts, I somehow manage to bungle things on an unbelievable level.
やっちゃったことは仕方ない。反省。
I can't believe my own stupidity. Still irritated, I direct my glare at the man lounging haughtily on the rubble.
それで、あんた何？
開口一番それか。これはまたとんでもないマスターに引き当てられたものだ。
The man in red mantle shakes his head in a show of exasperation. To add insult to injury, he mutters something about drawing the short straw. Oh, now I'm dead certain. This guy has a messed up personality. And is this a servant? I thought familiars were shapeless beings, but this is just a man. No, not just a man. Even from here, I can tell that he's brimming with a shocking amount of magical energy. Don't be fooled by appearances. I'm staring at someone that's absolutely more than human. It's a human-shaped ghost that's on the level of an elemental. This is no time to be dumbstruck. That thing belongs to me. I need to get my head in the game.
確認するけど、あなたは私のサーバントで間違いない？
それはこちらが聞きたいな。君こそ私のマスターなのか？ここまで乱暴な召喚は初めてでね。正直状況がつかめない。
私だって初めてよ。そういう質問は却下するわ。
I think you just did answer that question, Rin.
そうか。だが私が召喚された時に君は目の前にいなかった。これはどういうことなのか説明してくれ。
本気？ひな鳥じゃあるまいし、目を開けた時にしか主を決められないなんて冗談はやめてよね。
The undefined servant frowns, and a grunt escapes his lips. Maybe he didn't like the way I said it, though he has a mixed reaction, as if still impressed by the logic of my words.
まあいいわ。私が聞いているのはね、あなたが他の誰でもない、この私のサーバントかってことだけよ。それをはっきりさせない以上、他の質問に答える義務はないわ。
召喚に失敗しておいてそれか。この場合他にいろいろと言うべきことがあると思うのだな。
そんなのないわよ。主従関係は一番初めにはっきりさせておくべきものだもの。
The servant's eyebrow twitched. He isn't even bothered to hide his dissatisfaction with me. I wonder if it's because of the half-baked summoning.
主従関係ははっきりさせておくか。やることは知ってんだらけだが、口だけは達者らしい。
Compared to FGO, everything has a really good pity system.
確かにその意見には賛成だ。どちらが強者でどちらが弱者なのか明確にしておかなければお互い
I
やり
mean,
づら
I
いだろう。
still don't think the pity system that FGO has really even qualifies as a pity system.
どちらが弱者かですって？
ああ、私もサーバントだ。呼ばれたからには主従関係を認めるさ。だがそれはあくまで契約上の話だろう。どちらがより優れたものか、共に戦うにふさわしい相手かを測るのは別になる。さて、その件でいくと、君は私のマスターにふさわしい魔術師なのかな、お嬢さん。
Is the story for Azure Lane really good too, Dawson? The servant smirks. First, he destroys my house and acts like he's king of the castle, and now he has the nerve to ask whether I'm worthy?
あなたの意見なんて聞いてないわ。私が聞いているのはあなたが私のサーバントかどうかってことだけよ。
I repeat myself, stealing my gaze. I'm not going to back down from this condescending jerk.
おう、なるほどなるほど。そんな当たり前のことは答えるまでもないと。実に勇ましい。いや、気概だけなら立派なマスターだが。
だから順番を間違えるなっていうの。一番初めに確認するのは召喚者の務めよ。さあ答えなさい。あなたは私のサーバントなのね。
I step forward aggressively, ready to pounce depending on his answer.
強情なお嬢さんだ。これでは話が進まんな。仕方あるまい。仮に私が君のサーバントだとしよう。で、その場合君が私のマスターなのか。いやまあ、あくまで仮の話だが。
当た
I
り
mean,
前じゃ
it
ない。
would be alright if you could acquire extra pulls in FGO by
私以外
doing
に誰がいるっていうのよ。
special missions or something. That would be really cool. Oh, a time travel story. That could be really, if it's well done, that would be really good. I glare at this rude man, giving my seething head a moment to cool down.
そうか。まあ仮の話なんだが、とりあえずそうだとしよう。それで、君が私のマスターである証はどこにある？
The servant blithely asks, smirking all the while. He's clearly trying to goad me with these questions into losing my temper.
ここよ。あなたのマスターである証ってこれでしょ。
I show him the command spells on my right hand. I don't think I was born yesterday. Father's told me enough that I know what command spells are at least.
納得いった？これでもまだ文句を言うの？
I thrust the symbol at him in a challenge. But the lounging servant rolls his eyes.
まあ、本気で言っているのか、お嬢さん。
His face darkens, looking even more disgruntled.
本気かってなんでよ。
その考えがだ。霊樹があればマスターなのか。霊樹などサーバントを利する道具に過ぎないだろ まったくそんな形だけのものでマスターブルとはな。私が見たかったのは君が忠誠を振るうにふさわしい人物かどうかだったのだが。
That makes sense. But normally you'd think of command spells if someone asked for proof you're a master, right?
何よ。それじゃあ私はマスター失格？
そう願いたいが、そうはいくまい。霊樹がある以上、私の召喚者は君のようだ。信じがたいが、君は本当に私のマスターらしいな。
He shrugs in mock exhaustion. Oh no. I've reached my boiling point and I'm not going to cool down in time.
まったくもって不満だが、認めよう。とりあえず君は私のマスターだ。だが私にも条件がある。私は今後君の言い分には従わない。戦闘方針は私が決めるし、君はそれに従って行動する。これが
Well, even if it only goes back in time as far as the golden age of piracies, as long as it's done well, then that's alright. Sorry, Father. I'm at my limit. Okay.
不満だけど認めるくせに私の意見には取り合わないってどういうことかしら。あなたは私のサーバントなんでしょ。
I ask in a trembling voice. Yeah, poor Rin's having a hell of a morning. After our spat over the command spells, this is my last desperate attempt at dialogue. And yet...
ああ、形の上だけはな。故に形式上は君に従ってやる。だが戦うのは私自身だ。君はこの家の地下にでも隠れて聖杯戦争が終わるまでじっとしていればいい。それなら未熟な君でも命だけは助かるだろう。
He's looking down on me, declaring that he expects nothing from me.
怒ったのか？いや、もちろん君の立場は尊重するよ。私はマスターを勝利させるために呼ばれたものだからな。私の勝利は君のものだし、戦いで得たものは全て君にくれてやる。それなら文句はなかろう。
I mean, he's kinda not wrong.
どうせ君に霊樹は使えまい。まあ、後のことは私に任せて、君は自分の身の安全を。
あ、玉来た。いいわ、そんなに言うなら使ってやろうじゃない。アンファン。
No more mercy. I've got nothing else left for a jackass like this.
まさか。
そのまさかよ、この礼儀知らず。フィアトラーク、アイノイエナーゲン、アイノイエスケナツ、アイノイエスフィアブレヒン。
待て、正気かマスター。そんなことで霊樹を使うやつが。
うるさい。いい？あんたは私のサーバントなら私の言い分には絶対服従ってもんでしょ。
The emblem on my right hand aches. The 3 command spells. They allow a master to issue 3 unbreakable commands to their servants.
考えなさい君は。こんな大雑把なことに霊樹を使うなど。
It's too late to whine now. I didn't expect this to happen either. I want to die of self-loathing. I can't believe I just burned one of my precious spells on a petty squabble. After that, I retreated from the ruins of the parlor and went to my bedroom. Before me stands the servant whom my command spells compelled absolute obedience from. Azure Lane takes place World War II, where the World War II people go back in time. I suppose that you're trying to stop somebody from affecting how World War II plays out? Is that the premise of Azure Lane then, Dawson? Supposedly, anyway.
なるほど。君の性質は大体理解したぞ、マスター。
Who would call this absolute obedience?
念のため尋ねるが、君は霊樹がどれほど重要か理解しているのか、マスター。
知ってるわよ。サーバントを律する3回きりの命令権でしょ。それが何よ。
いいかね。霊樹はサーバントを強制的に行動させるものだ。それは行動を止めるだけでなく、行動を強化させるという意味でもある。例えば、私はここから遠くの場所まで瞬間的には移動できない。だが、霊樹で行けと命じれば、それが私と君の魔力で届くことならば可能となる。強制命令権とはそういうことだ。サーバント自身でも制御できない肉体の限界さえ突破させる大魔術の結晶が3つの霊樹なのだ。まあ
知ってるわよ、そんなこと。いいじゃない、まだ2つあるんだし。あなたに命じた規則は無駄じゃないんだし。
確かにこれは私の誤算だった。霊樹というものは曖昧な命令には効きが弱くなる。私を守り通せ、この戦いに勝てなどといった広く長く効果が続くものには霊樹の力が弱くなる。効き目は長く続くが苦痛が小さいため逆らえるサーバントも出てくるだろう。逆に次の一撃を死ぬ気で放て、あのグラスだけは壊すなといった単一の命令は絶対で、よほど強力なサーバントでも逆らうのは難しくなる。さて、ここまでで私が言いたいことがわかるな、マスター。
わかるわよ。要するに広く長い命令は意味がないんでしょ。
Yes, your use of a command spell to command your servant to obey you, which is something he was gonna do anyway, was definitely pointless.
効果も戒めも薄いならサーバントは霊樹に逆らって行動できる。そんな効き目の薄い命令をするなら絶対的な単一の命令をした方がいい。
そうだ。霊樹とはもともと自分たちの能力以上の奇跡を起こすためのもの。それを代用の効く命令などで消費する句は許されない。君の先ほどの霊樹はまさにそれだ。私が君に従うかは話し合いで解決できたことだし、仮に霊樹を使ったところで全ての言動に絶対服従など霊樹が100あっても実現できない。
じゃあ私のさっきの霊樹は無意味ってこと？
通常ならそうなのだがな。どうも君の魔術師としての性能は桁が違ったらしい。
So her command spell wasn't a total bust. It did bind him at least somewhat. Is he shocked or happy? My servant's lips twitch upward even as he sighs.
桁が違ったって、もしかして。ちょっとあなた、自分が今どんな状態なのか正直に話してみなさい。
The implication dawns on me, and I ask him eagerly.
誤算というのはそれだ。先ほどの命令では少しはマスターの意見を尊重しようという程度の心変わりにしかならない。だが今の私は君の言葉に強い強制を感じている。君の意見に異を唱えると、そうだな、ランクが一つばかり落ちるようだ。つまりマスターの意向に逆らうと体が重くなって動きづらいというところか。
My servant shrugs in resignation. So he's saying that my command spell wasn't a waste, but an actual benefit? He's still being sarcastic as ever, so it doesn't seem to have any effect. Besides, even if he is weakened, I doubt even 10 of me could resist if he decided to rebel against me.
前言を撤回しよう、マスター。年齢は若いが、君は卓越した魔術師だ。子供と侮り、戦いから遠ざけようとしたのは私の過ちだった。無礼ともども謝ろう。
The servant straightens his posture and gives me a formal bow.
やめてよ。確かにいろいろ言い合ったけど、そんなの喧嘩両成敗っていうか。
そうか。いや、話のわかるマスターで助かった。
なんか切り返し早いわね、あんた。
何？誤算は誤算だったが、嬉しい誤算というやつだったからな。これほどの才能があるのなら、君を戦いに巻き込むことに異論はない。
Is this his roundabout way of saying I'm a strong master?
じゃあ、レイジュ抜きで私がマスターだって認めるのね。
無論だ。先ほどは召喚されたばかりで馴染んでいなかったが、今では完全につながった。魔術
契約？
Now that he mentions it, something does feel weird about my body. It's as if my closed-off nerves are now connected to the outside. Specifically, I can feel a portion of my magical energy flowing to the man before me.
そっか。サーバントは聖杯に呼ばれるけど、呼ばれたサーバントをこの世に留めるのは
そう、マスターの力だ。サーバントはマスターからの魔力提供によってこの世にとどまる。
Okay, so aliens are messing with World War II, and it's your job to stop the aliens and have things progress normally. Okay. Seems like an interesting concept.
魔力提供量は十分だ。経験的に問題はありそうだが、君の能力は飛び抜けている。普通の魔術師ならばサーバントを召喚した瞬間に意識を失っているだろう。だというのに君は活力に満ちている。先ほどのレイジといい、この魔力量といい、マスターとして君は間違いなく一流だ。
今さら褒めたって何も出ないけど。
I break eye contact out of embarrassment. Well, I didn't see this coming. I know the command spell is making him obey me, but still, this superhuman servant is sincerely acknowledging me as his master.
で、あなた何のサーバント？
Yeah. I clear my head and return to business.
見てわからないか？ああ、それは結構。
I take it all back. He's definitely making fun of me.
わかったわ。これはマスターとしての質問よ。ねえ、あなたセイバーじゃないの？
残念ながら剣は持っていない。
I suspected as much. when it all's said and done, I got the time wrong, my summoning circle didn't do its job, and my servant was spat out into some random room. It was far too sloppy of a ritual to summon the strongest servant, Saber.
ロジったわ。あれだけ宝石を使っておいてセイバーじゃないなんて目も当てられない。
悪かったな、セイバーでなくて。
そりゃ通行のミスだから残念だけど、悪いのは私なんだから。
ああ、どうせアーチャーでは派手さに欠けるだろうよ。いいだろう。後で今の暴言を悔やませてやる。その時になって謝っても聞かないからな。
はい？
What a surprise. The unidentified servant seems to be sulking. Maybe my fixation on Saber offended him?
何？勘に触った？あーちゃん。
触った。見ていろ。必ず自分が幸運だったと思い知らせてやる。
Archer retorts with a sidelong glance. He has really spiteful air about him, but that reaction feels somehow childish and free of malice. You know, he might be a pretty decent guy.
そうね。それじゃあ必ず私を後悔させて、あーちゃん。そうなったら素直に謝らせてもらうから。
ああ、忘れるなよ、マスター。己が召喚したものがどれほどのものか知って感謝するがいい。もっともその時になって謝られてもこちらの気は晴れんだろうかな。
Archer huffs, even as his lips twist into a grin. Oh yeah, this one's gotten a rotten personality, all right.
まあいいわ。それであんたどこの英霊なのよ。
Archer doesn't answer. His sardonic expression is replaced by a deepening frown.
あーちゃん？マスターである私がサーバントであるあなたに聞いているんだけど。
それは秘密だ。
は？
私がどのようなものだったかは答えられない。
あのね、つまんない理由だったら怒るわよ。
Alright, Rin, prepare to get mad.
それは
There's that face again. Archer opens and closes his mouth as if he's having trouble voicing an uncomfortable truth.
なぜかというと自分でもわからない。
Wait, what?
はあ？何よそれ？あんた私のことバカにしてるわけ？
マスターを侮辱するつもりはない。ただこれは君の不完全な召喚のツケだぞ。どうも記憶に混乱が見られる。自分が何者であるかはわかるのだが名前や素性がどうも曖昧だ。まあさして重要な欠落ではないから気にすることはないのだが。
気にすることはない。気にするわよそんなの。
Wow, it seems like Azure Lane really has a lot going on with its storyline.
あんたがどんな英霊か知らなきゃどのくらい強いのかわからないじゃない。
なんだ、そんなことは問題ではなかろう。さまつな問題だよ、それは。
さまつってあんたね、相棒の強さがわからないんじゃ作戦の立てようがないでしょ。そんなんで戦っていけるわけないじゃない。
何を言う。 私は君が呼び出したサーバントだ。それが最強でないはずがない。
He's so straightforward. The Crimson Knight fixes me with a gaze full of confidence and trust. My brain grinds to a halt. There's no deception in Archer's words. He's sincerely giving me more credit than I deserve, even though we've just met. My cheeks are burning. I'm sure I'm blushing bright red right now. Surprise attacks like this tend to be my weakness.
まあいいか。誰にも正体がわからないってことには変わりはないんだし、敵を騙すにはまず味方からって言うし。
I turn away from Archer to hide my embarrassment. I'm sure I'll figure out in due time what sort of servant he is anyway. For now, we have other priorities.
わかった。しばらくあなたの正体に関しては不問にしましょう。それじゃあじゃあ最初の仕事だけど。
早速か。好戦的だな、君は。それで敵は？
Before he can say enemy, I toss a broom and dustpan at him.
下の掃除お願い。あんたが散らかしたんだから責任持ってきれいにしといてね。
A few seconds pass in stunned silence. When Archer finally regains his senses, he grips the broom indignantly.
待て。君はサーバントを何だと思っている？
使い魔でしょ？ちょっと生意気で扱いに困るけど。
Archer cuts himself off. I have no intention of letting him off, and if he tries to weasel out of it, I still have a card to play.
意義あり。そのような命令はこと。
いいの？これマスターとしての命令よ。マスターの方針に逆らったら体が重くなるんだっけ？まあ、あなたはその程度じゃどうってことないだろうけど、そのペナルティは今を掃除するまで続くのよ。そんな状態で明日から戦っていくのは危ないんじゃない？
See, that is called extortion, Rin. That's what that's called. He stands there for several more seconds with broom in hand, grumbling under his breath. And so the archer in red mantle closes his eyes.
了解した。地獄に落ちろ、マスター。
And gracefully accepts my order. Now then, it's getting late, so I should rest. I can decide how to deal with him once I wake up. A fateful day draws to a close. No, rather, my fate was shaped by this night. That makes 6, including me. Once the seventh and final master summons their servant, the Holy Grail War of this generation will begin. In the not-so-distant future, the battle I've been waiting 10 long years for is about to commence. Oh, really? You get to decide which side you're fighting for. You could either be the good guys or fight for the axes. That puts a new twist on it. Instead of making you the obvious good guy. the Holy Grail War. It's a grand ritual that's been repeated for hundreds of years. A fight to the death between 7 participants, of which only 1 can survive. It's said that a Holy Grail exists in the land of Fuyuki, and that a number of mages fought over it in the past. Their one and only objective was to obtain the relic called the Holy Grail. However, the Grail's origins are unclear. We're sure it isn't the chalice that held the blood of God, but its power is fearsome enough to be compared to the genuine article. That's right. They say the Holy Grail can grant any wish. Only one person can possess it. The Holy Grail can only grant one wish for one person. Despite that, 7 mages are needed to summon the Grail to this land. 7 collaborators to create one miracle. So, as you might imagine, it was only a matter of time before they started fighting over the Grail. Like so many conflicts, it started as a competition over property rights. The 7 mages equally used the power of the Holy Grail to summon their respective familiars, then do battle over the Grail itself. Only one mage can attain the Grail. As a result, 7 people who started as colleagues ended up in a furious battle to the death. That's the gist of the ritual known as the Holy Grail War, a struggle for ownership between mages. The mages chosen by the Holy Grail are called Masters, who use the blessing of the Grail to acquire powerful familiars known as servants. Two things serve as proof that one has become a master: the summoning and command of a servant, and the mark of command spells to compel the servant's servitude. The first goes without saying. The archer I summoned yesterday, no, a few hours ago to be exact, is Rin Tosaka's servant. As for the second, a master must closely guard the command spells that control one's servant. This is probably the most critical aspect of being a master. When I summoned Archer, symbols appeared on my right hand, namely command spells. Stigmata bestowed by the Holy Grail upon the summoning of a servant that marks one's new status as a master. A massive amount of magical energy is compressed into these seals, whose power is fleeting rather than long-lasting. They disappear once they're used, and as their shape suggests, each mark represents a single use. In other words, one only gets 3 shots. A master who uses up all 3 command spells can no longer control a servant and is as good as dead. Therefore, command spells must be handled with care until the very end, since they're as valuable as one's own life. Oh, you went with the Axis side, did you? And it would take about 3 hours to describe their lore, the lore of Azure Lane. Wow, that's pretty in-depth lore. It pains me to no end that I burned one right off the bat, but it wasn't a total waste, so I'll chalk it up as a win. After all, a servant could turn on its master at any time. If one command spell is what it takes to put a collar on him, then I consider it a fair trade. That's about it for the broader strokes of the business. Once 7 servants have been summoned, the Holy Grail War will begin. Tonight's sleep will be a fitful one. I don't know when the final master will appear, but they could be right around the corner. I feel sluggish. My blurry gaze goes up to the window only to see that it's already bright outside.
9時過ぎてる。遅刻どころの話じゃない。
After a drowsy check of the clock, I make up my mind to skip school today.
体が重い。半分以上持ってかれたみたいね、これは。
Sitting up in bed, I have a long sigh. Not being a morning person isn't enough to explain why I feel so dull. I think Archer mentioned something about it. A master would be out of commission after summoning a servant.
そうだった。私、セイバーじゃなくってアーチャーを呼び出したんだ。
I remember it all clearly now. I'd rather not, to be honest, but it's not as if denying the facts will let me do it over.
魔力が戻るまで1日ちょいか。今日は鳴らし運転ってことにしよう。
I drag myself out of bed. A mental boxing match rages between the outside air, which is quite warm for winter, and the comfort of my bedsheets. It concludes in a 3-second knockout against the temptation of going back to sleep. I check my body in the mirror. Nothing out of place aside for the loss of half my usual magical energy.
まあ、問題なんてあるわけないけど。
I review the situation. I summoned the servant Archer, who doesn't have any ounce of respect for his master. To make matters worse, he doesn't even know who he is. Wow, talk about a headache.
あいつの記憶が戻るまで切り札は封印か。思い出せないんじゃ使いようがないしね。
Servants are strong familiars all on their own, but what makes them truly formidable is the secret weapon they each possess. Frustratingly, Archer claims to have forgotten what his is.
まあ、火はこっちにもあるし、なんとかやっていくしかないか。
We're both in the same boat then. I can only pray that he'll sort his memories out, but who knows how long that might take. Good grief. I've really got my work cut out for...
あ、見直したかもこれ。
The parlor is completely back to normal. I thought he'd maybe just clear away the debris, but the room is so spotless, I can't help but be impressed. He must have felt bad for wrecking the place. I doubt he would have gone to such trouble otherwise. I guess I ought to commend him for being more decent than I...
日はとっくに昇っているぞ。また随分とだらしがないんだな、君は。
I retract my statement. There isn't a remorseful bone in his body.
おはよう。そういうあんたは随分とリラックスしてるよね。今を好き勝手使ってくれちゃってさ。
何？一晩過ごした部屋だからな。どこに何があるか把握したよ。おう。ついでだから厨房も片付けておいた。もう少し荒れているかと思ったが。なかなか気の行き届いた厨房だ。一人暮らしの洋館にしては上等だな。
have a headache. Why do I have to put up with a servant judging my interior decoration? I thought servants all cared about fighting. Are we sure this guy isn't defective?
なるほど。本調子ではなさそうだな。昨夜は元気だったが、睡眠をとって疲れが出たのだろう。紅茶でよければご馳走しよう。
Acting like he owns the place. Without missing a beat, Archer produces a teacup and fills it with expensive reddish tea, as he's been brewing. There's a lot I want to say right now, but oddly enough, I can't work up the indignation to. The way he does it is also refined. I've got to admit, he might be rather cultured.
まあいいけど、疲れてるのは事実だし、飲む。
The Crimson Axis Iron Blood, which is German number 2 soccer-inspired Japanese anime girl, yokai, and bunny girls. Huh. I sit down on the chair, the teacup placed soundlessly in front of me. I take a sip. Oh, it's delicious. I expected as much since it's my favorite Chinese tea, a spring harvest hongcha. I'd be upset if it didn't taste good. On that note, I'd normally be upset if someone used my favorite tea leaves without asking. It makes me mad, but the tea was brewed so exquisitely that the pleasure it brings overcomes my anger.
ちょっと、何笑ってるのよ、あんた。
何、感想が聞きたかったが、その顔では聞くまでもないと思っただけだ。
I set the teacup down with a forceful hand.
もったいない。
Sorry.
熱いうちに味わった方がいいぞ。私が気に障るなら消えているが。
ごちそうさま。結構よ。私は茶坊主が欲しくてマスターになったわけじゃないわ。あなたも
The
ね、
tea snob.
頼みもしないことを
That's
する必要
Archer's
はない
new
わよ。
nickname now, tea snob.
そうか。確かに私も茶坊主になったり後片付けをするために契約したわけではない。君。
ええ、私が求めているのは戦力としての使い魔よ。家事をこなすサーバントなんて聞いたことがないし、する必要も特にないわ。
ん？特にはないとはどういう意味かな？
別に好きなようにとって結構よ。それよりあなた自分の正体を思い出せた？
Archer shakes his head in the negative. That doesn't bode well. If he can't remember after a single night, then his memories probably won't return easily. There's some measures I can try today, but...
わかった。あなたの記憶に関してはおいおい対策を考えとく。じゃあ出かける支度をしてあっちゃん。召喚されたばかりで勝手もわからないでしょ。街を案内してあげるから。
出かける支度？いや、そんな必要はないだろう。出るのならばすぐに出られるが。
あのね、そんな格好で出歩くつもり？どう見ても普通じゃないし、他のマスターが見たら一発でサーバントってわかるじゃない。私、自分から私はマスターですなんて言いふらす気はないんだけど。
ああ、そういうことか。それも問題はない。確かに着替える必要はあるが、それは実体化している時だけでね。サーバントはもともと霊体だ。非戦闘時には霊体になってマスターにかける負担を減らす。
ああ、そっか。召喚されたって英霊は英霊だものね。 霊体に肉体を与えるのはマスターの魔力なんだから、私が魔力提供をカットすれば。
自然。我々も霊体に戻る。そうなったサーバントは守護霊のようなものだ。レイラインで繋がっているマスター以外には観測されない。もっとも会話程度はできるから偵察ならば支障はないが。
お、便利。それじゃあ本当に他のマスターを探し出すなんて難しいんだ。
Well, I think that's kind of the point, Rin.
まあ
To make it hard for other
だが
masters to
魔
locate
術師
them.
は魔術師を知覚できるだろう。それと同じでサーバントもサーバントを感知できる。優れた魔術を知るサーバントならば遠く離れたサーバントの位置さえ把握するだろう。
Archer has it in one. Masters are supposed to be capable mages. And the more magical energy the mage has, the better they are at detecting traces of magical energy. As far as I know, there isn't anyone else around with that degree of power.
で、あんたはどうなの？他のサーバントの位置、わかる？
マスター、私のクラスは何か忘れたのか？遠く離れた敵の位置を探るなど、岸上がりにできるものか？
He has a point. Archer's magical energy isn't on that level. It's likely that only the magically powerful caster is capable of easily locating distant foes.
わかったわ。じゃあ、とりあえず後についてきて、ハーちゃん。あなたの呼び出された世界を見せてあげるから。
そう目新しいものではなさそうだがね。それよりマスター、君、大切なことを忘れていないか？
え？大切なことって何？
まったく。君、まだ本調子ではないぞ。契約において最も重要な交換を私たちは未だしていない。
契約において最も重要な交換。
Is he demanding equivalent exchange? No, that can't be it. The chance to take part in the Holy Grail War is already reward enough for a servant. There shouldn't be anything else left to trade.
君な。朝は弱いんだな、本当に。
Archer sounds exasperated. His oh-so-sardonic manner of speech finally gives me an idea. Come to think of it, he's never once called me by my name.
ああ、しまった。名前。
It's a little bit roundabout way of getting at it, but yeah, that's what Archer was getting at.
思い当たったか？まあ、今からでも遅くはないさ。それでマスター、君の名前は？これからは何と呼べばいい？
Wow, that Azure Lane has a lot of factions doing a lot of different things. No wonder the Lord take a while to explain. Archer sounds sulky. Oh man, he really is a decent person. I'm sure of it now. After all, there's no tangible benefit to exchanging names. Servants are forcefully bound to their master by command spells, while names are key to contracting with regular familiar. There's no need for a master and a servant to be so intimate. But it's important to Archer. He's clearly trying to establish trust between comrades in arms, regardless of the command spells.
私、遠坂凛よ。あなたの好きなように呼んでいいわ。
I answer in a clipped tone, unwilling to let slip any admiration. He'll probably just call me something impersonal like Master or Hey You, which works out just fine for me. Except Archer chews on Rin Tosaka for a moment.
それではリンと。ああ、この響きは実に君に似合っている。
He says something really forward.
リン、どうした？何やら顔色がおかしいが。
うるさい。いいからさっさと行くわよ、あーちゃん。とにかくのんびりしてる暇なんてないんだから。
I turn on my heel and storm away huffing. This is so infuriating, I'm not even sure why. Damn that Archer, did he say that just to mess with me?
ありえる。こいつなら絶対そうだ。
I'm not sure, Dawson. That'd be an actual toss-up, because I have to admit, I do like playing as the bad guy every now and then. Yeah, I'm sure that's it. Must be all part of his plan to get me all flustered. I'd better be careful. Gotta work with this wise guy from here on out. I take Archer outside. Fuyuki City, my hometown, is broadly divided in two halves. There's Miyama, which is left over from the village the city grew out of, and Shinto, the developing modern region across the river. The Sakura Empire has yokai? Oh, well, that might steal it right there. I think I'd have to go for that faction then. My house is in Miyama, the old part. Miyama itself is split into two areas. The European-style neighborhoods originally inhabited by immigrants from abroad, and the old Japanese-style houses set against a mountainous backdrop. Both areas are situated on hilltops along the outskirts of town. Wow, I'm having trouble with my words right now. The street dividing the two residential areas is fairly normal by comparison. How normal, you ask? I don't think anybody asked, Rin. This normal. This is the crossroads of Miyama. On one side lies the road going up the hill to the European neighborhoods where I live. Opposite it is the road to the Japanese houses, and between them is the path leading to Shinto. Yeah, I guess Crimson Axis then, Dawson. It would be what I'd end up picking. I gotta side with my fellow yokai at least sometimes. I mean, if any of you have been watching my Fate Samurai Remnant playthrough, I'm having a hard time beating up all those yokai. I mean, they're my kin, so, but I have to beat them up to make it through that one. So yeah, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Where my school and the shopping areas are, as well as Ryodu Temple in the mountains. We come to the bridge connecting Shinto and Miyama. 10 years ago, a big train station went up in Shinto, bringing with it frenzied urbanization. They may belong to the same municipality, but Miyama and Shinto couldn't be more different. The name Fuyuki, written with kanji for winter tree, is supposedly inspired by the long winters here, which, by the by, are pretty long. Despite the temperatures are warm, February here is only about as cold as the start of winter elsewhere. I bet if you randomly started digging, you'd turn up a hot spring or two. Though of course our temperate weather disqualifies this town as a hot spring resort location. We've got odd climate where the mild winters suddenly turn to springtime bloom come April. This is what Shinto looks like. A number of tall buildings have been erected as if in a hurry to give the hastily developed city a distinctively artificial feel. It all happened in the last decade or so, too. 10 years ago, there was a large fire that wiped out a residential area. Someone built a bunch of glass and metal buildings on the depopulated land. And here is the center of it all.
ここが信徒の公園よ。これで主だったところを歩いて回ったわけだけど、感想は？
I ask Archer who's next to me. Of course, he's invisible.
広い公園だ。だというのに人気がないのは何か理由でもあるのか？
やっぱりそう見える？まあ、ここはちょっとした曰くがあるから。
I look out over the park. You'd think a wide open space like this would have children playing in it, even on a weekday. But instead, there are only a handful of people. The place feels dull and lifeless.
10年前の話よ。この辺り一帯で大きな火事があったんだって。火は一日燃え続けて、雨が降り出した頃に消えたんだとか。その後町は復興したけど、ここだけはそのままなの。焼け野原になって何もなくなったから公園にしたらしいわ。
Archer says nothing, but I can tell he sensed something odd, even if I can't see him.
気づいたみたいね。そうよ。ここが前回の聖杯戦争決着の地。私も事情は知らないけど、前回の聖杯戦争はここで終結して、それきり。
なるほど。それでこんなにもここは怨念に満ちているというわけか。
わかるの？そういうの。
サーバントというのは霊体だ。そのあり方は怨念、猛襲に近い。故に同じ無念には敏感なのさ。街中でも濃い場所はあるが、ここは別格だ。我らから見れば固有結界のそれに近い。
Tosaka mutters under her breath. Archer's inflectionless voice mentions an unusual bit of magical jargon. Innate bounded fields, mages call them reality marbles. Reality marbles are considered one of the apexes of magecraft. They're said to be infinitely close to true magic. For the last few centuries, bounded fields have served as mages' defensive barriers. To put it in simple terms, they're like a home security system with real teeth. Just a second, Dawson. Great thing about choosing that side is you get them all, so you go and then you choose one of those specific factions to kind of focus on. Okay. They're merely an alteration of an area that already exists. Reality marbles, however, are something else entirely. You can think of them as a space that consumes reality itself. When a mage materializes their imaginary world, a representation of their mind, and overwrites the real world with it, we call the resulting field a reality marble. It's a large area magecraft that rebuilds the world according to the mage's wishes.
リン、どうした？考え事か？
おう、ちょっと意外だったから。
Oh, you can focus on up to 2 factions. Well, that makes things a little easier. Also a little more complicated too, I would suspect.
こういう結界だなんて、アーチャーのくせに珍しい言葉を知ってるなって。
なんだ、知っていてはおかしいか？
だってそうじゃない。固有結界っていうのは魔術師にとっては禁忌中の禁忌、奥義の中の奥義だもの。アーチャーであるあなたが知ってるなんて筋違いよ。
I threw a quizzical glaze in his general direction. In reply, I feel an incorporeal sigh.
リン、英雄とは剣術、魔術に長けたものを指す。アーチャーだからといって弓しか使えないと思うのは勝手だが、私以外のサーバントにそんな楽観は持たないでくれ。
Oof. That does make sense when he puts it like that.
わかったわよ。今のは軽率な発言だったわ。次からは気をつけるからこれでいいでしょ。
リン、ズバリ言おう。
So Dawson, do the different factions give you different bonuses that kind of work together?
成人するまでには強制したまえ。
何気に失礼なこと言うわね、あんた。
Break my habit? He's talking about me like an unruly racehorse.
いや、失礼。別にリンがジャジャ馬だと言ったわけではない。単にイメージ通りの表現を使っただけというか。
Okay, so you want to pick 2 factions that their faction bonuses work really well together and kind of mesh really well. That puts a whole new challenge on things. My right hand suddenly flares with pain.
リン、
ちょっと黙って、あーちゃん。
The command spells on my right hand hurt. They're throbbing, almost like a dull alarm warning their owner.
誰かに見られてる。
I scan my surroundings. I mentally weave a detection web and cast it out over the park.
私じゃ見つけられない。あーちゃん、あなたは？
難しいな。私には視線すら感じられん。
ってことは、見てるのはマスターね。
I don't know who it is, but if Archer can't tell, then it must be a master. Okay, so if you have 2 Soccer Empire Fox Girls, it gives you a specific bonus. Huh. Well, it certainly adds a level of difficulty to the strategy of it. We don't have all 7 yet, but the fighting could still start at any time. Maybe whoever's watching me is up for an early skirmish.
レイジはレイジに反応する。 マスターであるのなら誰がマスターであるかは出会えば感じられるということか。だがそれなら凛にも相手が識別できるのではないか。
ええ、けど行為の術者なら自分の魔力ぐらい隠し通せる。いくら霊樹同士が反応するって言っても、その霊樹だって魔力で発動するものよ。大元であるマスター自身が魔術回路を閉じていれば見つけることは難しいわ。
厄介だな。ではこちらはいいように位置を知らせているということか。
Sometimes you roll for the fox girls and yokai and the bunny girls. Well, oh, come on. I'd be rolling for those all the time.
でしょうね。まあ私だって家探しすれば魔力殺しぐらいは見つかるだろうけど。
必要ないと。
そうだって隠さなければ向こうからやってきてくれるでしょ。こっち
Archer doesn't respond. Maybe he's irritated with me?
何の自信過剰はいけないって言いたいの？
I ask a little defensive, thinking of our earlier exchanges. Archer mentally brushes the question aside.
君はそのままが一番強い。はあ、小物には付きまとわせてやるがよかろう。
I can feel the smirk in his tone. I'm not saying that I like what he said, but it is enough of an olive branch, I suppose. We start walking around town again. I spend the day taking him to all the important places and even drop by some less significant spots that might be useful to know. After dinner, I make for our final stop. It's now after 7 in the evening. There's a good chance to show him the best vantage point in the city. The wind howls. We're atop the tallest building in Shinto. The commanding view of the city makes for a fitting end to our tour.
どう？ここなら見通しがいいでしょ、あーちゃん。
はあ、将来君と付き合う男に同情するな。よくもまあここまで好き勝手連れ回してくれたものだ。
何か言った？あーちゃん。
素直な感想を少し。
Oh, sorry about that.
確かにいい場所だ。初めからここに来れば歩き回る必要もなかったのだ。
何言ってるのよ。確かに見晴らしはいいけど、ここからわかるのは街の前景だけじゃない。実際にその場に行かないと街の作りはわからないわ。
そうでもないな。アーチャーのクラスは伊達ではないぞ。旧兵は目が良くなければ務まらん。
そうなの？それじゃあここから家が見える？あーちゃん。
いや、さすがに隣町までは見えない。せいぜい橋あたりまでだな。
That's still pretty freaking amazing vision. If he could see from Shinto to that bridge and make out each and every tile or bolt, that is insane.
タイルって橋のタイル
？Well, I guess it does make perfect sense with him being an archer that his eyesight would be that good.
びっくり。アーチャーって本当にアーチャーなんだ。
Because the great thing, you don't have to roll at the time, because as your lane gets their pulls in, as well as the next anniversary for each Eagle Union, so you don't have to worry about worried to pull like crazy. Oh, that would be so nice. That would make uh, getting characters you really want so much less stressful.
まさかとは思うが、君、私をバカにしているんじゃないだろうな。
そんなわけないでしょ。たださ、あなたってアーチャーって言われには弓使いっぽくないからつい勘違いしてただけ。
それは問題発言だ。帰ってから追求しよ
う。With that, Archer goes quiet for a while. He must like the landscape from up here. He's probably considering the layout of the city. I shouldn't interrupt him while he's thinking. I step away from Archer and approach the edge of the rooftop. All I can see from here are the lights below. Headlights flow through the streets and I can make out people on the way home from work. I can tell what kinds of cars they are, or I can't tell what kinds of cars they are or who exactly is walking. I can see them, but not clearly. It's not unlike how I could tell someone was watching me earlier, even if I couldn't pinpoint them.
少なくとも神道を根城にしている奴が一人いる。
I squint down towards the ground. There are 7 masters in total. I don't know who they are, nor which servants are with them. At this point, every master is probably gathering intelligence on their rivals. Suddenly, I feel someone's eyes on me. There's no reaction from my command spells. I simply sense that someone is looking at me. Down there? I peer down. People are walking on the street. But no one in particular is gazing up at me as if staring at the moon. I'm not sure exactly who it is. I can't say for certain, and yet I know exactly who. I can't believe that guy. What's he doing out this late?
リム、敵を見つけたのか。
Archer calls out to me. Maybe he can make out my rising hostility.
別にただの知り合い。私たちには関係のない一般人よ。
Unable to clamp it down, I irritably snap back at him and step away from the roof's edge. He couldn't have seen me from the ground. I'm sure it was just a coincidence. I haven't given myself away, and yet my mage side is screaming at me for allowing an eyewitness to catch sight of me. By the time I get back to Miyama, it's 9 p.m. Unlike Shinto, Miyama is mostly residential. After 9, there isn't really anyone outside and the streets are silent as if it's much later at night.
こんなところね。街の作りは大体わかった？
ん？ああ、街のことならわかる。あとはおいおい掴んでいくさ。
なら今日はここまでね。私もまだ本調子じゃないし、家に戻って休みましょう。
Oh, the Crimson Axis had 2 events lately. Wow. And what, over the anniversary, they switched between Azure Lane and Crimson Axis? That's kind of cool. I start up the hill at a relaxed pace when I notice someone up ahead.
あれ、さくら？
Uh-oh. Now would not be a good time to run into her.
リン、何を隠れている？
黙ってて。あそこにいるの知り合いなのよ。今日は学校休んだし、あんまり顔を合わせたくないの。
As I answer, I keep an eye on her. In the middle of the street, there's the first-year student I know. And a foreigner I don't. They're talking. No, it looks more like he's trying to pick her up while she'd rather be anywhere else.
リン、知り合いとは外国人の方か？
いいえ、知らない。この辺りは洋館が多いから、どっかよそから遊びに来てるんじゃない？
Even as I finish the sentence, I'm mentally telling myself off for being so soft on that girl.
あ、じゃあ、あいつ人間？
さあ、実態はあるから人間なのだろう。少なくともサーバントではない。
そうよね。マスターでもないし、ただの血は喧嘩か。
Though even if I know that she isn't the sort to get caught up in something like that.
二人とも言ったな。女は坂を登っていく。男は。
The blonde-haired man descends via the street we came by.
それじゃああなたはここを使って。私はもう眠るけど、何か質問はある？
とりわけ重要な疑問はない。すぐに戦闘を仕掛けない君の判断は正しいよ。今夜は魔力の回復を行うべきだろう。
ええ。それじゃあ明日、今朝の紅茶をよろしくね。
Once I'm back in my room, the fatigue washes over me.
そうだ。眠る前にきれいに連絡しないと。
That annoying priest left me a message. By now, he's probably sent for the backup mage. It isn't my problem, but he is my legal guardian. I owe him a phone call, at least.
電話と。
I punch his number into the telephone. Before long, the fake priest picks up.
きれい？私だけど、昨日サーバントと契約したから、正式にマスター登録お願い。
There's a brief pause. Kirei's silence is deafening. I can feel its weight even through the earpiece.
いいだろう。ではどうする？一度こちらに顔を出さないか。君のご両親から預かっているものもある。君がマスターになった場合にのみ、成人前に伝えてほしいと頼まれているのだが。
ああ、それって父さんの遺言のこと？それならもう解読して手に入れたからいいわ。それじゃ気が向いたらお邪魔するからよろしく。
待てリン、マスターになったのなら。
I hang up before he finishes. If I have to listen to Kirei nagging while I'm this tired, I have a feeling my magical energy will drain away instead of recover.
さて、これで準備は終わりっと。
All that's left is to sleep. Once I open my eyes, it will be a brand new day. 10 years ago, my father fought as a mage in the Holy Grail War and lost. Now it's my turn to risk it all for the same prize. All right, folks. Well, we are going to wrap it up there for today. I will, on my community page, be posting when we'll be doing the next stream. It'll probably be early next week. I have to look at when I've got available time slots. But yeah, thank you all for joining me today. I hope you all enjoyed the visual novel so far. I know I'm certainly enjoying it. And we will see you all in the next stream and or the next video that comes out. Alright, we'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.